refused to even be at those committees or to give their position, and they said that a crisis with China isn't important enough to even have a high-level delegation. Madam Speaker, I look forward to finishing this speech after question period. Thank you very much.
The honourable member will have 4 minutes to finish his speech, and then 5 minutes for questions and comments after question period. Statements by members. Déclaration de député. The honourable member for Parkdale High Park.
Madam Speaker, today is the 30th anniversary of the award of the Nobel Peace Prize to His Holiness the Dalai Lama. As the Member of Parliament for Parkdale High Park, I take great pride in representing the largest Tibetan diaspora in North America. The
Dalai Lama is not just a leader for the Tibetan people. He's a leader for us all, thanks to his tireless efforts to promote nonviolence and the defense of religious freedom around the world. This Buddhist leader is a champion for justice and human rights for millions around the world.
To meet with the Dalai Lama in 2018 in India. What I will always recollect from that meeting was his wisdom, his kindness, and most of all, his dedication to the Tibetan people and his promotion of the middle way approach. To our honorary Canadian citizen, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, I simply say thank you. Gadenche Kang Sachok, for all you have done, not just for the Tibetan people, but for the global community in promoting the cause of peace and pluralism internationally. Tujiche.
Here, here.
The honourable member for Calgary Heritage.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, family and friends held a celebration of life for a Calgary businessman, philanthropist, and my friend, Ron Carey. Last month, Ron died in a collision during a vintage car rally in England. Ron built his company, J&L Supply, into a successful drill bit service provider for the oil patch, but among his passions away from work was collecting vintage automobiles. Ron's collection was exceeded only by his generosity when he donated dozens of antique vehicles and vintage gas pumps to the Heritage Park Historical Village. In fact, Heritage Park built Gasoline Alley Museum to showcase his vast collection. Ron himself had a hand in restoring many of these beautiful cars, and they will persevere at the museum as a tribute to the generosity of a man who delighted in sharing his passion and the rewards of his success with his community. Ron Carey, a great Albertan, will be sorely missed.
The honourable member for Hochelaga. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As a young immigrant who was welcomed by this country, it is with a great deal of feeling and responsibility that I rise in this place. I would like to thank the men and women of Hochelaga for their support and their trust. As an MP, I recognize that the challenges are significant and achievable: transportation, social housing, and food security. Today, I would like to congratulate HoC Resto Pop, which is celebrating its 35th anniversary. This organization understands the importance of supporting vulnerable peoples in the face of the basic need of getting access to food. They've produced about 4 million meals over the course of their lifetime. Congratulations to the HoC Resto Pop. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Abenaki Nation, like other Indigenous nations of Quebec, is currently mourning Luc Obensawin, a well-known personality. 62 years old, Luc passed away on December 4th after a battle with cancer 3 weeks after he was diagnosed. Luc served in the armed forces as a communication specialist and member of the 12th Armored Regiment. Afterwards, he was a member of Indigenous police and served in many communities throughout Quebec, and was a correctional officer in Donnacana, member of the Port Canada Police, and a police officer for Sûreté du Québec. He is a founder of the Canadian Indigenous Veterans Association of Quebec. The Abenaki of Odanak remember Luc as a righteous man, devoted and involved in his community, and proud to promote it. On behalf of the Bloc Québécois and the other MPs of this House, I offer my condolences to his family and to the entire Abenaki Nation.
The honourable member for Brampton South.
Mr. Speaker, it's an honour to rise in the House today to thank the people of Brampton South, my family, all the volunteers, voters, supporters, each and every one of them who helped me get re-elected. Thank you. Mr. Speaker, I would like to speak about an issue of great concern to Bramptonians. Brampton needs its fair share of health services to keep up with rapid growth of our city. As a healthcare professional for 18 years, I also know how important disease prevention is in taking pressure off our healthcare system. On that note, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank all of the organizations who joined me on November 30th to mark Diabetes Awareness Month, including Diabetes Canada, the YMCA, the JDRF, LMC Healthcare, and Healthy Community Initiative. Working together, we can defeat diabetes, improve the health of Canadians, and save our healthcare billions of dollars. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Bravo.
The honourable member for Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Standing up and speaking for the first time in Parliament should be an occasion filled with joy and happiness. Unfortunately, it is with heavy heart that I rise today to pay tribute to not one, but two Oro-Medonte councillors who recently passed away. Councillor Scott McPherson passed away on November 6, 2019. Scott McPherson was a retired Simcoe County School Board teacher and dedicated community volunteer. He was serving his second term on council. Deputy Mayor Scott Jeremy passed away on November 20th, 2019. Scott Jeremy was a dairy farmer and local pillar in the farming community. He was also serving his second term on council. Both were fine gentlemen who served their communities well. Their passing is a deep loss to the township of Oro-Medonte. They will be dearly missed by their family, friends, and constituents, but they will always be remembered for their positive legacies that they leave behind.
The Honourable l'Honorable Député d'Alfred Pellan.
Senor Presidente, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you for being elected to the position of Speaker of the House. That you are the first Speaker of Canadian-Italian descent, like me, fills me with pride. I would also like to say thank you 26,015 times to the citizens of Alfred Pellan, who renewed their trust in me. This solid and growing trust reinforces my sense of duty for us to move forward together, to fight climate change, to reinforce the middle class, to support businesses and organizations in my riding, to remain present, and to listen. Since the holidays are fast approaching, my son Gabriel, my spouse Rana, my team and I all want to wish my colleagues and all the inhabitants of Laval happy holidays and a happy new year.
Happy New Year, Buon Natale e buon anno a tutti.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It gives me great pride to rise today for the first time in Canada's 43rd Parliament. I'm deeply humbled to have earned the trust of the people of Kitchener Centre who sent me back to Ottawa as their representative. And I want to thank everyone who helped me during the last campaign, including supporters and volunteers. I am here in this House to provide a strong voice for their issues, which I've engaged with both on and off the campaign trail. Issues like taking firmer action to address the climate crisis and working to make life more affordable for Canadians. It is always exciting and a privilege to share in celebrations and events across the region that highlight our community's rich diversity, and over the coming months and years, I look forward to working with and listening to my constituents to make life better for them. Regardless of whether they are seniors, students, new Canadians, scientists, artists, athletes, or parents, I'm here for them. I return to Ottawa with great optimism and look forward to advancing issues important to Kitchener Centre and to this great country. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Langley Aldergrove.
Mr. Speaker, it's the first time rising in this House. I would like to thank the citizens of my riding, Langley Aldergrove, for placing their confidence in me to be their voice in the nation's capital. I also want to honor the memory of the immediate predecessor in this role, Mr. Mark Warawa. As a new representative for this riding, I want to bring to the attention of this House that the population of Langley Aldergrove has been growing steadily over the last couple of decades. and with it, road congestion and pollution. So the people of my riding are looking for a greener and cleaner transportation option, namely the expansion of Metro Vancouver SkyTrain station all the way to Langley. Right now, funding is in place to build the first half of it, but another $1.6 billion is needed to finally bring this dream to a conclusion. We're looking to both sides of the House for the support for this very great project. Thank you.
The honourable member for Don Valley East.
December 13th marks the 83rd birthday of His Highness Prince Karim Aga Khan. His Highness is the spiritual leader of over 25 million Ismaili Muslims spread across the globe. Over the past 62 years, His Highness, through the Aga Khan Development Network, has improved the quality of life of the most vulnerable populations. Through education and economic opportunities, he has helped empower women and girls and provide stability and prosperity to communities, irrespective of race, ethnicity, or faith. Canada is extremely fortunate to have the Aga Khan as a partner in the Global Centre for Pluralism, a beacon of dialogue and engagement with the world. In this age of conflict and nationalism, the ethos of pluralism, as demonstrated by the Aga Khan, is sorely needed. Bon anniversaire, Votre Altesse. Merci.
The honourable member for Saskatoon University.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to thank the good people of the Saskatoon University riding for placing their trust in me as their I would also like to thank my wife, Danielle, and my two boys, Jacob and James, for their love and support over the campaign. It's been a wonderful ride, and I'm so grateful for their support. I'd also like to thank, in my office, Justin Ulrich, Helen Harvey, and James HoC, who have worked tirelessly over the campaign and are now helping me out in my office here in Ottawa and back in Saskatoon. I'm very grateful of their support. I'm so grateful of the hundreds of volunteers and the people that have donated to our campaign and made it the success that it was. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm indebted to your help forever. Mr. Speaker, the people of Saskatoon University are proud and are hardworking. They are struggling, Mr. Speaker, because of the decisions of this government. The failure to build necessary national infrastructure projects such as pipelines are hurting them, with consequences that can be seen every day.
The honourable member for Red Deer Lacombe.
Mr. Speaker, many of my constituents are farmers, hunters, and sport shooters. They are licensed, law-abiding firearms owners who have invested in these tools as an integral part of their lives. They are also amongst the most heavily vetted people in the country. Every day, the names of each licensed firearm owner is checked against the police database to ensure that they haven't committed a crime. And yet these are the same people that the Liberal government is targeting with their forced confiscation of lawfully owned property. Liberals are not making life miserable for gangsters, smugglers, and violent criminals, but instead are blaming law-abiding Canadians who happen to own firearms as part of their way of life. Mr. Speaker, this is outrageous. Only in liberal lefty law land does the government focus on turning law-abiding citizens into criminals instead of turning criminals into law-abiding citizens. I encourage all Canadians to speak out against this unconscionable government overreach and encourage the Liberal government to focus on actual measures that will reduce crime. To law-abiding gun owners, Conservatives will continue.
The honourable member for Hamilton Centre.
Yesterday, the finance minister announced that they're prioritizing tax giveaways to the wealthy instead of help for those who most are in need. They're handing over $6 billion and giving the biggest benefits to folks who are already making between $100,000 and $200,000 a year. And while we support the idea of giving a break to those who earn the least, if we target the Liberals' proposed changes to those making less than $90,000 a year, we can give those who need the help the most free and full dental care immediately. It would save our healthcare system millions of dollars and help millions of Canadians in a very real way. Mr. Speaker, if the Liberals are just interested in staying in power, then they can continue looking to the Conservatives and the Bloc. But if they are actually wanting to get things things done for Canadians and help them with the struggles that they face every day, then we are here.
L'honorable député de Salaberry-sur-Loire.
Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, I would like to pay tribute to Ms. Céline Lefebvre, an exceptional woman who co-founded Liberté de Choisir, or Freedom to Choose, which fights addiction. She was able to put together a professional team entirely dedicated to raising awareness among youth about issues of addiction, such as addiction to alcohol, drugs, energy drinks, and cyber addiction. She inspired many organizations in Quebec that fight addiction. Her impact was so significant that the Quebec Association of Addiction Treatment Centers created this year the Céline Lefebvre Award. She is the very first recipient. This award highlights the work of community organizations that distinguish themselves by their devotion to the Addictions Network. I am proud to recognize today the deeply significant contribution to the riding of Salaberry-sur-Loire and to Quebec society. My congratulations to Madame Lefebvre.
The member for Calgary, Rocky Ridge.
Mr. Speaker, since this government took office, foreign investment has fallen by 56%. $100 billion has left the energy sector, and investments in plant and equipment are down. Real wages have barely risen. Nearly half of Canadians are within $200 of insolvency, and a third of Canadians are broke at the end of each month. October had the highest number of personal bankruptcies in 10 years, and per capita GDP is falling. The economy lost 71,000 jobs last month, and we're falling behind our international peers. The cost of living is increasing, and standards of living are stagnating. This is not middle-class prosperity. Because this government broke its promise to balance the budget within its first term and created a structural deficit without delivering the infrastructure that it promised, it has squandered the fiscal capacity that it inherited during a time of economic growth. Canadians deserve better, and Canadians can count on Conservatives to fight for those working hard to join the middle class and those desperately struggling to remain in it.
The honourable member for Scarborough Rouge Park.
Mr. Speaker, on Human Rights Day, I want to recognize the courageous work of human rights defenders around the world. Far too often, they are lone voices on the front lines to protect and advance the dignity and rights of others. In Sri Lanka, the University Grants Commission and the Jaffna University Council has barred human rights lawyer and the head of the Department of Law, Kumara Vadivel Kurubaran, from practicing law. In South Africa, Ayanda Denge was brutally killed for her advocacy and support of sex workers. In Haiti, Charlotte Jody was killed for his work on LGBTI issues. He worked with an organization called Courage and was in Parliament Hill for the Pride flag-raising ceremony in 2016. Human rights defenders are harassed, intimidated, and are under constant surveillance with the aim of undermining their work. This often leads to a chilling effect that curtails civil society activism as a whole. Today and every day, we honor the women and men who peacefully speak and act towards upholding human rights here in Canada and around the world. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Oral questions. Question orale. The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Mr. Speaker, today is the one-year anniversary of the arbitrary detention of Michael Spavor and Michael Kovrig by the Chinese government. Now, these men have endured torturous conditions and will now be facing a second Christmas away from home. I know I speak on behalf of all members of Parliament when I send along our best wishes and sympathies to the two Canadians being detained and their families. Can the Prime Minister update the House as to the efforts that are being made to secure the release of these two Canadians?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the Honourable colleague across the Leader of the Opposition for raising this issue. As he mentioned, indeed, today unfortunately marks 1 year since Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor were arbitrarily detained in China. They are and will remain our absolute priority. We will continue to work tirelessly to secure their immediate release and to stand up for them as a government and as Canadians. We are grateful to the many countries around the world that have expressed support for Mr. Kovrig and Mr. Spavor. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Well, Mr. Speaker, when it comes to standing up to the government of China on many issues, this government's reaction is costing Canadians. In fact, when it comes to protecting our canola exporters, this Liberal government dragged its feet on raising the Chinese blocking of our exports to the World Trade Organization. And as a result, the industry lost billions. The Liberals waited over 6 months just to file that complaint. So why did the government wait so long to take any action on behalf of Canada's agricultural sector?
The Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can tell you that our government has always stood shoulder to shoulder with our farmers. We take this issue very seriously. We have been always working very closely with the industry and taking their advice into consideration. We have started the discussion at the WTO. We have technical discussions between CFIA and the Chinese official. Ambassador Barton is working hard there in China, and we work as well to diversify our markets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
The trouble is, Mr. Speaker, that just is not the case. The government of China is illegally detaining 2 Canadian citizens. They have blocked billions of dollars in agricultural exports. They are now starting to take aggressive actions in the Arctic, calling for a, quote, polar silk road. And now, not only is this government not standing up for Canada, they're actually borrowing billions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars from taxpayers to send it to the Asian Infrastructure Bank. Why is this government subsidizing the government of China during this diplomatic crisis?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
That we've been pleased to be part of the Asian Investment Bank. We know that it's important to develop the entire region. It's an important way that Canadian organizations get opportunities in that part of the country. And obviously, long-term, what we want is a global economy that works, which helps us internationally, but also helps us back at home with our own economy.
L'honorable député.
The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, we all know that the Prime Minister and all of his antics are not taken seriously on the international stage. But here in Canada, is he at least managing foreign threats effectively? That's quite the question. The Chinese government has clearly said that it wants to establish a presence in the Arctic and have an influence there. Does the Prime Minister acknowledge this threat? Yes or no? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, Canada will always stand up for Canadian sovereignty. This is not a question just for this government. It's clear that we will always defend the Canadian territory. The Honourable Member for Richmond North Athabasca. Mr. Speaker, it's clear that this government doesn't have a good read of Canada-China relations. The Prime Minister has no intention of defending human rights in China, of protecting Canadians against security threats, or working to guarantee market access for Canadian farmers. Mr. Speaker, in 2013, the Prime Minister said that he admired the dictatorship of China. Does he still think that today? The Honourable Minister. Mr. Speaker, our absolute priority is the well-being and safety of the Canadians being held in China. Canadian interests are at the heart of all of the decisions that we take. What Canada needs is a united front in defending their interests rather than political games. We have mobilized an international coalition supporting Canada's position, and we want to thank our many allies who have spoken out in favor of us.
Le député de Belleuil.
The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My question would be for the Prime Minister, but I'm sure he'll hear it at some point anyway.
Je vais rappeler un moment à l'ordre.
Order. Order. I would remind the member and everyone, because certainly there are a lot of new members in the House, and I think this is a good opportunity for us all to learn something. You cannot refer to the presence or non-presence of any member in the House. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, I'm sure I will respect that ruling. That said, I believe that the government and the ministers were told to make a great show of celebration concerning the imminent signature of a new trade agreement with the U.S. and Mexico. Well, don't worry, I have more. But we know that Mexico does some processing of aluminum, a lot of which aluminum comes from China. And China recycles and produces aluminum there. And we've been told that aluminum will not be protected under the new version of NAFTA. Is that true?
L'honorable ministre du Développement International.
The Honourable Minister for International Development. Well, Mr. Speaker, as my colleague said, we are very proud of the new free trade agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico. We have always defended Canadian aluminum workers, and the new NAFTA involves strict requirements concerning the regulation of this industry and will provide fairer conditions to our workers. We will continue to protect aluminum workers in Quebec and in Canada. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Honourable Member for Belleuil-Chambly. Well, the Liberals are saying one thing and doing another. When the content of this agreement will be presented to Quebecers and to the workers in the 8 aluminum plants in Quebec, they will render a harsh sentence. Now, if someone thinks that the Bloc Québécois will be voting in favor of an agreement that sacrifices Quebec aluminum workers, well, the answer is no. The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I don't know if there was a question there, but in any case, we're very proud of the agreement between Canada, the U.S., and Mexico, which will be signed. It is a good agreement for Canada. It's a good agreement for Canadian workers, and it's a good agreement for industry all across the country. We are very proud of it, and we will continue to defend market access for Canadians here in North America. Thank you.
The B South.
The Liberals' tax plan doesn't help 47% of people who need it the most. But if they did target their tax measures to help those who really need it, we would be able to fund a new national dental care program. That would help 4.3 million people. If the Prime Minister really wants to help people, will he commit to introducing a national dental care program?
L'honorable ministre.
Honourable Minister of Health.
And as I've mentioned before, Canadians are incredibly proud of our healthcare system here in Canada. We're making important investments to protect it and to expand healthcare access across the country. As we mentioned in the throne speech, the universal dental care idea is one that's worth exploring, and I look forward to working with all members in this House to do exactly that. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Burnaby South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. There's a difference between saying the right things and doing the right things. 20% of Canadians cannot access dental services because they just can't afford it. If we had a national dental care program right now, it would save families at least $1,200 a year. That's a concrete way to help out families, keep them healthy, save money, and the Liberals could still continue with their proposed tax changes. So if the Liberal government really wants to help people, will the Prime Minister commit to a national dental care program?
Here we go.
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as the member opposite knows, the healthcare delivery, including a potential dental care plan, would be delivered in partnership with provinces and territories. That's why it's not as easy as just delivering it now. It would be something that would be worthy of exploring, though, and I look forward to working with all members of the House on how we can actually move forward ensuring all Canadians have excellent access to quality medical care. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Durham.
Mr. Speaker, today the House is debating the most challenging foreign policy relationship Canada has at present.
That's right.
China. The government has made serious missteps on security and trade issues with the Chinese government and is avoiding tough decisions when it comes to Huawei and other issues. So, will the Prime Minister agree to a specialized all-party committee to review all aspects of the Canada-China relationship?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable colleague for his question and for raising a very important issue in this House today that I think is resulting in some really important debate on all sides. We all agree that the Canada-China relationship is incredibly important, and we're exploring all of those issues when it comes to human rights, when it comes to democracy, when it comes to trade, when it comes to our security. And of course, the House and Parliament has many standing committees that deal with all of these issues, and we look forward to seeing how the committees decide to manage their own business. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Prince Albert.
Mr. Speaker, nearly half of Canada's canola seed exports worth some $2.5 billion have been lost due to Chinese non-tariff trade barriers. Canadian farmers want to know what this government's Plan B is, because Plan A is obviously not working for them. Can the minister answer what is this Liberals government's doing to regain market access that they've lost for our canola farmers in China?
Honourable Minister of Agriculture.
Speaker, our government will keep, standing with our farmers and ranchers. This is very important to us. We have been working with them, with the industry, with the provinces to find the best solutions. We have started the conversation at the WTO. CFI is having discussions with Chinese officials. Ambassador Barton is working hard, and obviously we are working on diversifying our markets as well.
The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Mr. Speaker, for the last 4 years, Canadians have lost confidence in this Prime Minister and this government when it comes to foreign affairs. Canola producers paid too high a price for this government's inaction. For months, the government denied that there even was a crisis with China, and it took an election for them to finally file a complaint at the WTO. And Canadian canola is still banned in China. Will the Minister of Agriculture support our opposition motion and finally stand up for canola farmers? The Honourable Minister of Agriculture. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. From the very beginning of this affair, we have been standing shoulder to shoulder with farmers and working closely with farmers and industry representatives, as well as the provinces who are most affected. The CFIA has had technical and scientific discussions with their Chinese counterparts. We have also undertaken discussions and consultations at the WTO. Ambassador Barton was appointed, and he is doing excellent work on the ground. And, of course, we're also working on diversifying our markets. The Honourable Member for Mégantic-l'Érable. Well, the result is that canola is still banned in China, Mr. Speaker. China is blocking access to Canadian canola. It's repressing democratic protests in Hong Kong. And what does our new Minister of Global Affairs think of China? Well, this is what he said. In a world of uncertainty, of unpredictability, of questioning about the rules that have been established to govern our trading relationship, Canada, and I would say China, stand out as a beacon of stability, predictability, a rules-based system, a very inclusive society. Really? Mr. Speaker, when will the Prime Minister take off his rose-tinted glasses and stand up for Canadian values like freedom and human rights? The Honourable Minister for International Development. Mr. Speaker, Canada always stands up for Canadian values and principles, whether it's human rights, democracy, international rules. We are always there, and we are always expressing what we think and talking to our counterparts around the world, including China. It's important that all Canadians stand together here and form a united front so that we can protect our economy, our industry, and, of course, our rights and values.
The Honourable Member for Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, our allies have said that Huawei participation in Canada's 5G network is a threat to national security. And security experts in CSIS have said that it's a threat. The only person who seems to think that it's not is the Minister of Public Safety, who said it's not appropriate to criticize a company that's used by the Chinese government to spy on Canadians. When will the Prime Minister protect Canadians and ban Huawei?
The Honourable Minister of Public Safety.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And first of all, I should point out to you, sir, that the statement just attributed to me is completely false. Our government takes the security of Canada's telecommunications networks very seriously. And that is exactly why we have been conducting an examination of emerging 5G technology and the associated security and economic considerations. We want to make sure that Canadians have access to the most beneficial 5G technology, and at the same time, we will make sure that the Canadians are safe and that their systems will not be compromised. We're taking all scientific and security factors into account, including discussions with our allies and our security agents.
The honourable member for Aurora Oak Ridges Richmond Hill has a question. I'm sure she wants to hear an answer. I was sitting very close to the minister, and I'm having a hard time. So I just want to remind the honourable members that the honourable member wants to hear the answer to their question. The honourable member for Aurora Oak Ridges Richmond Hill.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has failed to manage our relationship with the government of China, from control of Canadian resource, technology and service companies by Chinese state-owned entities, to cyber attacks on our communications networks, to security concerns in our Arctic, to international drug trafficking of deadly substances like fentanyl. There are many areas of critical importance that require a thorough review and balanced approach. When will the Prime Minister support our motion to appoint a special committee to review this China?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And again, I thank my honourable colleague across the way for raising these important issues. These are issues that all Canadians are concerned about, including on this side of the House. And of course, as the Government of Canada, it's something that we are working very diligently on. As I mentioned, when it comes to trade, when it comes to agriculture, when it comes to foreign affairs and security, there are committees of the House that deal with these issues already. And of course, we look forward to seeing how these committees decide to manage their business. And should they be interested in learning more about the Canada-China relationship, we'll of course be looking forward to working with them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagotte. Mr. Speaker, the aluminum produced in Quebec is the cleanest in the world. And since we're facing a climate crisis, Quebec is even developing carbon-neutral aluminum. But with the changes to the new NAFTA, which the government wants to sign today, China will be allowed to dump aluminum, which is manufactured using coal. That would cause prices to plummet and hinder the growth of our local industry. Is the government really going to sacrifice a clean industry and Quebec workers to promote Chinese dumping? The Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We have worked hard to get a good agreement signed for Canadians. We have always defended aluminum workers in Canada, and we recognize that the industry of aluminum is a leader in the world when it comes to fighting climate change. The new NAFTA contains strict provisions concerning domestic content of aluminum in North America, and we will continue to defend aluminum workers and the industry as a whole. The Honourable Member for Jonquière. Mr. Speaker, the government doesn't seem to understand what the aluminum industry means to my region. In Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean, we produce 60% of all aluminum produced in Canada. That's 7,000 jobs in production alone. It's an essential link in our region's industry, and it creates middle-class jobs. Today's news puts 3 big aluminum expansion projects in Quebec in danger. How can the government say that it's working for the middle class when it's abandoning aluminum workers at the first opportunity? Honourable Minister. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I want to thank my colleague for his important question. I had an opportunity to talk to the mayor of Saguenay this morning on this particular issue. I think he must be aware that we have always stood up as a government to protect aluminum workers, particularly at a time when Americans imposed tariffs. Our government and the Minister of Foreign Affairs at the time were able to ensure that those tariffs were lifted. We will always be there to defend workers, and rest assured that will apply under the new NAFTA as well.
For Wellington, Halton Hills.
Monsieur le Président, il y a...
Mr. Speaker, 65 years ago, soldiers from Winnipeg and Quebec City defended the citizens of Hong Kong, including my father. In the Battle of Hong Kong, hundreds of Canadian soldiers were killed. Today, 300,000 Canadians live in Hong Kong, and millions of them have protested in the streets for their freedom. Will this government take a stronger position, a clearer position on Hong Kong? The Honourable Minister of International Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As my colleague said, this is something that all Canadians believe, that we should be supporting the people of Hong Kong, and I'd like to thank the member for sharing his personal story. We will always stand up for human rights in Hong Kong, and for the Prime Minister and the Minister of Foreign Affairs. They have both spoken to their counterparts and their other partners around the world to ensure that human rights and democratic rights are protected in Hong Kong. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Thornhill.
Mr. Speaker, Dai King is a Chinese citizen, once China's most famous investigative journalist, a former political prisoner, widely recognized for her writing and lectures at universities across North America. She was invited to Canada again this fall to discuss her new book, but when she applied for a routine visa, she was surprised her application was subject to review. Her passport, 2 months later, still held by the Canadian Embassy. Mr. Speaker, can the Minister assure the House that Dai King's visa application is not being blocked for political reasons?
The Minister for Immigration.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And as this is my first occasion to rise in the House, I want to thank the good people of Eglinton Lawrence for re-electing me as their Member of Parliament. And of course, I want to assure my honourable colleague that these visa applications are processed by highly trained professional officials within my department. We take these applications very seriously, and of course, they are not motivated, nor would they ever be, for political purposes. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Port Moody Coquitlam.
Mr. Speaker, fentanyl overdoses are the cause of more and more deaths in Canada and is especially prevalent in British Columbia. Parents and residents in my riding are concerned about the impact of this crisis in our region and the safety of our children and youth. A significant amount of this drug is illegally imported from China. The Liberals have had 4 years to act. When will the Liberals take action to prevent opioids from entering our country?
Good question.
The Honourable Minister for Public Safety.
Mr. Speaker, our government recognizes the tragedies that have taken place across Canada as a result of synthetic drugs, the opioid crisis, and methamphetamine in so many of our communities. And that's why we have taken very significant steps to interdict the supply of these drugs and the precursor chemicals used in their manufacture. We've ensured that our law enforcement agencies and border security officials have additional resources to deal with this crisis, and we are working very collaboratively with our international partners to keep these drugs and the chemicals used in their manufacture out of our country.
The Honourable Member for Sarnia-Lambton.
Well, Mr. Speaker, this minister was part of the problem in the 42nd Parliament with the inaction on this file. 12,000 Canadians have died from the opioid crisis due to this Liberal inaction. Fentanyl continues to pour into our country from China. While places like the U.S. have put controls in place, Canada is nowhere on this file. So what is the government going to do to stop the illicit importation of fentanyl into Canada?
The Honourable Minister for Health.
Colleagues illustrated the strong action that we've taken on the importation side. It's really great to hear the member opposite, wake up to the crisis that opiate overdose has presented our country for well over 10 years. Mr. Speaker, I come from the world of drug policy, and we know on this side that, in fact, we need to treat this situation as a health crisis. That's what we've been doing over the last 4 years, Mr. Speaker. We've been saving lives so people can access recovery. Every life matters, Mr. Speaker.
Once again, I want to remind the honourable members that a question was asked and it's being answered. But on the other hand, I want to remind both sides that whether it's a question or an answer, if we do it with respect, I think we get better results. The Honourable Member for London Fanshawe.
Mr. Speaker, this government's refusal to defend Canadians' basic access to health care and the fundamental right to choose is inexcusable. They are failing to stand up for people in New Brunswick who are poised to lose the only abortion provider in Fredericton. This was raised first in 2005, and the Liberal minister of the time was supposed to act, but failed. And now, almost 15 years later, this minister has continued to do nothing. What is it going to take
take for the Liberals to defend people's rights? When will they enforce the Canada Health Act?
The Honourable Minister of Health.
Mr. Speaker, on this side, our party and our leader has been extremely clear that all Canadian women have the right to safe, consistent access to reproductive health services that include abortion. As the Prime Minister has said, we will ensure that the New Brunswick government supports clinics that offer abortion services outside of hospitals. I know that the Prime Minister had a very constructive conversation with the Premier. I plan on speaking with my counterpart this week, and we will continue to work to make sure that abortion accesses all reproductive services are available equally across the country. Thank you.
The Honourable Member for Churchill, Kiiwetinoong-Aski.
Mr. Speaker, on October 21st, First Nations and Métis people in Churchill, Kiiwetinoong-Aski sent a message to this Liberal government. Enough of promising a new relationship and doing the opposite. Enough of promising the Dene to settle the North of 60 land claim and bailing. Enough of promising to solve the housing crisis and failing. And enough of ignoring the suicide crisis in God's Lake Narrows, where over 100 people, primarily young girls, have attempted suicide in the last 4 months. Will the Minister of Indigenous Services acknowledge that they have failed on their promises and act urgently on the issues facing First Nations and Métis people?
The Honourable Minister for Indigenous Services.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I thank the member opposite for a question. Departmental health teams continue to work closely with our partners in Manitoba to coordinate augmented crisis response and mental wellness supports to mitigate any gaps in coverage during this time. We are in regular contact with the community of God's Lake Narrows, and departmental officials will be meeting with the community leadership in God's Lake Narrows on December 11th, 2019. We will continue working with the leadership to support their needs and response, as a community-led approach is the best approach, especially when it comes to mental wellness. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Markham-Stouffville.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's truly an honour to rise in this House to ask a question on behalf of the constituents of my great riding of Markham-Stouffville. Mr. Speaker, today, December the 10th, marks the last day of the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. Over those 16 days, we reflected on the lives of the survivors of gender-based violence and the lives of those we've lost. In York Region, we've come to know that human trafficking is posing a real threat to our young people, and although women in my riding do have access to shelters like the Yellow Brick House in Sandgate and the great staff there, it is clear that more needs to be done on prevention.
The Honourable. Who will be answering this? The Honourable Minister for Women and Gender Equality.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to extend a warm welcome to my honourable colleague from Markham-Stouffville for her leadership, for representing her community in this House. It's going to require strong leadership like hers and every honourable members to ensure that we eliminate gender-based violence in Canada. To date, our government has worked to introduce a strategy to end human trafficking. We have worked to ensure that students are safer on campuses, and we've created and maintained 7,000 shelter spaces so that women and children have a safe place to turn to when they need it. There is so much more work to do, Mr. Speaker, and we are committed to just that.
The Honourable Member for Chicoutimi-Le-Fjord. Mr. Speaker, once again, the government has made sizable concessions after supply management. Now it's the aluminum industry. The government knows full well that we have the greenest aluminum production on the planet. Mexico imports aluminum from China that's cheaper and that is more polluted. The regions are suffering from these additional tariffs, and how can the minister look workers in the eyes and tell them that we've got a better deal? The Honourable Minister of International Development. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We worked hard to sign a great deal for Canada. Our government has defended Canadian workers and protected their jobs. We worked hard with our partners in the U.S. and Mexico to strengthen progressive elements of this deal, and the Conservatives voted against them. Mr. Speaker, we're proud of the deal we reached, and it's good for Canadians. Thank you.
Member for Caribou, Prince George.
Mr. Speaker, natural gas has been produced safely in British Columbia for over 60 years. BC's natural gas reserves could fuel our domestic consumption and our exports for the next 150 years. LNG is expected, the global demand for LNG is expected to raise or grow 45% in the next decade. There are 6 LNG projects in British Columbia, with Canada LNG being the largest project in Canadian history. LNG represents $1 billion opportunity for First Nations, yet our Minister of Environment wants to talk down our LNG opportunities.
Why?
Why?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Canada is indeed well positioned to become a major player in the global LNG industry with proposed projects in the West and in the East. We have strong measures in place to attract investment while also reducing emissions after securing the single largest private sector investment in Canadian history. It is clear that our plan is working. We will continue to take action to ensure Canada is on track to become the world's cleanest producer of LNG and reach global markets. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Thank you to the voters of Calgary Forest Lawn for electing me to this House. It is a great honor. Mr. Speaker, the Liberal attack on our energy sector has me worried for my province and my city. Canadian LNG is a world-class product that is desperately needed to help achieve global emission reductions. We need new pipelines to move that gas to the coast, but we can't do it without changes to C-69, changes that allow Alberta Gas to share in the opportunity. When will the Liberals make the changes to C-69 that Alberta and Canada so desperately need?
Bravo! The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
We needed better rules to fix the gutted process that was left behind to us. It was a broken process that made Canadians lose trust. It failed to get our resources to new markets. It made large projects, including pipelines, vulnerable to legal challenges. Our better rules will make good projects move forward and grow our economy in a responsible way, and we welcome input from our partners on how to best implement this new legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Member for Edmonton Centre.
Mr. Speaker, the people of Alberta send a message to the Liberals this fall about Bill C-69. The energy industry has rejected the bill. Foreign investment is fleeing, and 175,000 jobs have been lost in the energy sector. Premiers from coast to coast agree that the bill needs to be changed. When will this Prime Minister and his government listen to Albertans, make the changes needed, and get people back to work?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, in fact, I'm happy to report to this House that it was just last week that I was standing with the Alberta Energies Minister in Atchison, Alberta, and with some of the 2,200 workers who have been hired at one of many construction sites as construction of the Trans Mountain Expansion Project goes ahead. It was a good day for our energy industry, it was a good day for Alberta, and it was a good day for Canada, and with a continued commitment to getting it done the right way, the TMX expansion project is being built. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Mr. Speaker, as Pierre Falardeau said, we always go too far who go nowhere. Today, there are 200 people protesting in Ottawa today because the strategy with the government with this federal strategy is going nowhere. And now they're in front of the Prime Minister's doorstep right now. They want money to renovate social housing, and they want transfer of funds to fight against homelessness. In Montérégie, there are people who are sleeping outside. The government has taken too long before helping them. The Honourable Minister, we are going to take concrete measures to protect Canadians, the most vulnerable Canadians in particular, with our federal housing strategy. We're investing $82 million in community housing. This will help to protect people and construct community housing for more than 330,000 families in Canada. The Honourable Member for Longueuil-Saint-Hubert. Mr. Speaker, I'm not stupid. I know there's nothing encouraging with that answer. But the federal government strategy is not meeting the needs of people who are hoping and waiting for social housing, Mr. Speaker. The National Assembly unanimously called on the federal government to fulfill its role, namely to transfer funding to Quebec without conditions for social housing. These groups want federal funding without any guidelines They want money for homelessness. We have the expertise. Will this government listen to Quebec and transfer, without conditions, the funding? The Honourable Minister for Families, Children and Social Development. We are fighting homelessness across Canada, notably in Quebec. Over the next 5 years, we will spend more than $175 million on the prevention and reduction of homelessness in Quebec. This will help us to achieve our objective of reducing chronic homelessness by 50%.
Number 4, Carleton.
Asked yesterday if he was worried about Canada's weak economy, the finance minister said it's his job to worry, and he's not worried at all. Well, he should be worried. Insolvencies have reached a 10-year high. Half of Canadians are $200 away from going insolvent. Our unemployment rate is above the G7 average, above the United States, United Kingdom, Japan, and Germany. So, on this question of worry, is the finance minister just going to look the 71,000 people who lost their jobs last month in the eye and tell them, don't worry, be happy?
The Honourable Minister of Finance.
Speaker, we've worked hard over the last 4 years to make sure that we have an opportunity for Canadians to work across the country. Left with a 7.1% unemployment rate from the previous government back in 2015, we immediately started investing in Canadians, investing in families, investing in infrastructure. Our economy grew, we grew employment, more than 1 million jobs. We will continue to invest as we see challenges in the economy. Right now, we're happy to say that we continue to have growth. We look like we'll be the second fastest growing country among the G7, and employment continues to be strong in this country.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Amongst the G7 countries, we have a higher unemployment rate than the average. The United States, the United Kingdom, Japan, and Germany all have unemployment rates that are lower than ours. In Canada, we lost 71,000 jobs in November, and half of Canadians are $200 away from being insolvent at the end of the month. Mr. Speaker, the minister can ignore these problems, but they're still there. When will he face reality? The Honourable Minister of Finance. Mr. Speaker, over the past 4 years, we made investments in our economy, investments in families, investments in Canadians. Our situation is a good one. Our growth level is the strongest of the G7. We're going to continue to be in a good situation with respect to unemployment, but we're going to continue to invest in Canadians, like our announcement yesterday to cut taxes for 20 million Canadians.
Member for Northumberland, Peterborough South.
Mr. Speaker, Ontario is a national leader in the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. In the throne speech, the Prime Minister committed to working with the provinces, but they have yet to accept the Made in Ontario climate change that will actually reduce emissions. When will the Liberals stop dragging their feet and give Ontario an answer?
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Speaker, we know that a majority of Canadians voted for serious action on climate change, and that means we must cooperate with each other to bring the best ideas forward to fight climate change. We already have a credible and affordable plan with over 50 measures that were developed by Canadians, for Canadians. While we are making real progress, there is much more to do, and we will continue to work with provinces, territories, and Indigenous peoples across this country to do just that. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel.
I would like to take the opportunity to thank the residents and constituents of Saint-Léonard, Saint-Michel for their support in allowing me to participate in the present legislature, which will be most productive and effective with everyone's goodwill to move this country forward. Monsieur le Président.
Mr. Speaker, people often talk about the tremendous sacrifices made by Canadians during World War II on D-Day. But little is said about those who participated in a lesser-known but equally important campaign, namely the Italian campaign. I know that the Minister of Veterans Affairs was recently in Italy.
Minister for Veterans Affairs.
Thank you very
much, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my honourable colleague for her question. And this year marks the 75th anniversary of the Italian campaign, and it was a great honour for me to lead the delegation to Italy, including 15 incredible veterans of the campaign and members from all sides of the House. Canadians can be extremely proud of how the Italians thank the Canadian people and the Canadian veterans. They will never forget the bravery shown by Canadians, and we will always remember them. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Prince George, Peace River, Northern Rockies.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Prime Minister has ignored BC's forest industry and its workers for far too long. Thousands of workers in communities throughout British Columbia are out of work. Residents in my riding are suffering thanks to this Liberal government's indifference. These men and women want and need to get back to work. Can the Liberals inform this House if the new NAFTA agreement includes an agreement on softwood lumber? Yes or no?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of the new NAFTA that will be signed shortly between Canada, the United States, and Mexico. We are very proud that we have continued to stand up for Canadian workers and Canadian industries from coast to coast to coast. Mr. Speaker, we are very proud of the new chapters on the environment, on labour, on dispute settlement, to ensure that we're getting the best deal for Canadians. Elements that the Conservatives urged us to abandon. Mr. Speaker, this is a good deal for Canadians, and we'll continue to stand up for them and industries at every opportunity. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well said.
The honourable member for Desinte, Mississippi, Churchill River.
Mr. Speaker, Norsask Forest Products is a 100% First Nations-owned company whose profits are directed to the 9 bands that make up the Meadow Lake Tribal Council. These funds are used for services like housing, education and health care, including suicide prevention programs. Since 2017, Norsask has paid over $10 million in softwood lumber tariffs. Mr. Speaker, that's $10 million not being used for services in these communities. When will the Liberals prioritize a negotiation of a new softwood lumber agreement with the United States?
The Honourable Minister for International Development.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is an important issue that my colleague across the way raises. This is something that we have been committed to and working on very diligently. The previous Minister of Foreign Affairs, the Deputy Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister. We will continue to ensure that we advocate for Canada's interest in the softwood lumber industry and to ensure that we get not just any deal, as the Conservatives keep advocating for, but a good deal. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Member for Tobic-Mactaquac.
Mr. Speaker, it is a privilege to rise in the House today for the first time. And I'm grateful to the good people of Tobic-Mactaquac for electing me as their Member of Parliament. New Brunswick has presented a credible and effective environment plan to the government for review. Unlike the federal carbon tax, New Brunswick's plan is made in New Brunswick and protects consumers and local businesses. The provincial government is still waiting for a reply. When, Mr. Speaker, will New Brunswick receive its answer?
The Honourable Minister for Natural Resources.
I congratulate the member on his presence in the House, and we will continue to work with provinces, including the province of New Brunswick, in order to evaluate their plan and to make sure that it is in keeping with the government's priorities. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The honourable member for Miramichi, Grand Lake.
Mr. Speaker, over the past month, I have heard from many constituents from my riding of Miramichi, Grand Lake, who have loved ones struggling with an addiction to crystal meth. Crystal meth devastates lives and communities, and it is both accessible and very cheap.
Stigma is often a barrier for people who seek assistance. Can the Minister of Health inform the House of what this government is doing to help Canadians dealing with addiction issues?
I thank the member from Miramichi, Grand Lake for his advocacy. Obviously, this is an issue that affects many people and their families. My heart goes out to all of the people and families struggling with substance use problems across the country. Over the past years, we've restored harm reduction to our national drug strategy because we believe that every life matters and that recovery is always possible. We also know that access to treatment is not equal across the country, which is why we've committed $700 million additional dollars to make sure that people can access treatment that's appropriate no matter where they live. Thank you very much.
The honourable member for Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie.
While scientists at COP25 and people across the country are stressing this climate emergency, here the Liberals are doing whatever it pleases. Today, we've learned that not only we will miss the Conservatives' targets for 2030, but also that the Liberals are trying to cover up key information about their climate failure. This is unacceptable for a government that says it's transparent. Can the Minister of the Environment commit to adopting a Green New Deal and for setting the record straight for Quebecers and Canadians? The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources. Mr. Speaker, we salute the recommendations of the Environment Commissioner, and we're going to follow up on them. Our government has always been clear that we are going to achieve our climate objectives for 2030, and we are convinced that our plan will allow us to achieve our goals, and we will do more. Thank you.
Member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
Mr. Speaker, today is Human Rights Day. A year ago this week, the UN Human Rights Office sent a letter to this government requesting information on the steps taken to suspend the Site C until free, prior, and informed consent is obtained from affected Indigenous.
I want to I know some people are new to the House, and I just want to remind them that if I can have some quiet, I can explain what the rules are. The rules are that if you have something that you refer to, you can use it as a reference. But to hold it up and use it, that becomes a prop, and that's inappropriate by parliamentary rules. I'm sure the honourable member didn't mean to break the rules. I'll let him continue with his question. The honourable member for Nanaimo, Ladysmith.
My apologies, Mr. Speaker. Today is Human Rights Day. A year ago this week, the Human Rights Office sent a letter to this government requesting information on the steps taken to suspend the Site C dam until free, prior, and informed consent is obtained from affected people. A second letter requesting additional information was sent.
The Honourable Minister of Natural Resources.
Mr. Speaker, our government is restoring confidence in federal environmental assessments. The previous government approved the project and set legally binding conditions with which the proponent must comply. We will ensure that every condition attached to the project's approval is met, and we will conduct regular inspections to ensure compliance. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Thought we were doing really well until that last question. I want to thank everyone for working together. We're doing okay. I'm now prepared to propose for the ratification of the House a candidate for the position of Assistant Deputy Speaker and Deputy Chair of Committee of the Whole. Conformément à l'article 8.
Pursuant to Section 8 of the Standing Orders, I propose that Ms. Hughes be the Assistant Deputy Speaker and Vice Chair of the Committee of the Whole. The motion is deemed moved and seconded. Is it the pleasure of the House to adopt the motion? Carried. I am now ready to propose to the House a candidate for the Assistant Deputy Minister and Vice Chair of the Committee of the Whole, pursuant to Standing Order 8.
Propose that Mrs. Mendez for the position of Assistant Deputy Speaker and Assistant Deputy Chair of Committee of the Whole.
The motion is deemed to be moved and seconded.
Of the House to adopt the motion. Carried. I'm sorry. Orders of the day.
Government orders. Business of supply. Resuming debate on Mr. O'Toole's move on the motion on the Special Committee on China-Canada Relations.
Order. À l'ordre. If you can hear my voice, please say shh. There we go. That works perfectly. Now, I just want to remind the honourable members that we are entering debate, and if they have any discussions, please take it to the lobby or outside in the hall, but please, so that we can hear the debate that the honourable member for Foothills has to bring forward. Debate, resuming debate, the honourable member for Foothills.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's a pleasure for me to rise and continue my discussion on the importance of this special committee to investigate the trade relationship between Canada and China. And I want to take this opportunity to read a quote from Jeff Nielsen, the chair of the Grain Growers of Canada, who gave this earlier this week. And it's relating to the throne speech, or the lack of any mention of agriculture in the throne speech and the crisis on the canola issue. And I quote, "Yesterday's speech from the